I'm very excited about this session because we will be talking about UC San Diego's college system, something special and unique to UC San Diego. The colleges help students thrive as they create an opportunity to make the university experience more personal and approachable. We recognize that prospective students and counselors often have questions about UC San Diego's college system. Today, we will share helpful resources for you to learn more about each college so as to feel confident when ranking them on the UC application for admission. We'll also have a very special guest from 7th College, Provost Antonovics, who will provide a brief overview of each of our 7 colleges. Lastly, we will end with a Q&A session, which will be led by Provost Antonovics, and we will have some of our current students as well. With that, I would like to introduce Provost Antonovics of 7th College to tell us more about the college system and the individual colleges. Provost Antonovics, thank you so much for being here and sharing information with our prospective students, families, and counselors. Take it away.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I am really excited to be here to tell you what I know about the college system. As Timothy indicated, I am the provost of 7th College, but I also want to emphasize that I've had pretty close affiliation with a number of the other colleges as well. As a faculty member, I am appointed to Muir College, and I have served on the Muir College Executive Committee and even as the chair of the Executive Committee. And I also served for a year as the interim provost of Revelle College before being appointed as the provost of 7th College. So I've had a lot of experience with many of the different colleges. And I think really one of the things that makes the college system so exciting and so unique is that although UCSD is this big campus with an incredible research infrastructure, and there's all this exciting work going on, we also have this college system that breaks up this large campus and makes it small and approachable and personalized. And we really are hoping to give students the kind of experience they might get at a small liberal arts college, but embedded within a large research-oriented university. So each college provides access to personalized academic advising and various different kinds of support services, as well as opportunities for students to get involved in a broad range of activities. One of the things that's really important to emphasize is that you can major in you can pursue any major in any college. So every college has students from the whole range of majors in it. All of the colleges are interdisciplinary in that sense. So what makes each college unique? Well, each college has its own set of general education requirements and its own general education curriculum. And in addition, each college has its own residential neighborhood and location on campus. So there's sort of an intellectual glue that binds students in a college together, as well as a physical, locational glue that also kind of provides that sense of community. Next slide, please. So there are lots of helpful resources for learning more about the colleges. So some of those are listed here. I won't go into detail about these, but there are lots of resources there for you to learn more. And also what I would like to do now is to just go over briefly each of the colleges and tell you a little bit about each of them. Next slide. So the first college, and these are going to be presented in order in which the colleges were founded. So the oldest college at UCSD is Revelle College. Their tagline is "Where the sciences, arts, and humanities join to educate and inspire multidisciplinary scholars." At Revelle, they really want students to gain a thorough grounding in a broad variety of different disciplines, so humanities, mathematics, natural science, social science, fine arts, and foreign language. And the goal is to really give students a broad enough education that they can pursue any career that they want after having been a part of Revelle College. There are lots of fun traditions associated with each of the colleges. And the bottom of each of these slides will list a number of the traditions that are associated with each college. One really important thing to keep in mind is that although each college sponsors each set of traditions, typically these activities or these events are open to students from across campus. So for example, every year in the spring, Revelle College hosts a watermelon drop, where they drop a watermelon off of a very tall building in Revelle College. The history of this is that it was at one point on a physics exam, students were asked to calculate how far a watermelon would splatter if it were dropped from a building of sort of a certain height. And that evolved into a tradition where every year they throw a watermelon off the building and then determine or figure out how far the watermelon splattered. So that's sort of one of the traditions that Revelle sponsors. And again, I just want to emphasize it's open to students from all across the university, not just Revelle College. Next slide, please. The next one I want to mention is Muir College. Their tagline is celebrating the independent spirit. And in some ways, Muir was founded in response to Revelle, whereas Revelle has a very sort of stringent set of general education requirements. Revelle's general education requirements emphasize a little bit more the independent spirit and leading the self-directed life and allowing students to choose a little more broadly what they want to emphasize. Having said that, there are breadth requirements at Muir. So students will be taking courses in writing, social science, math, and natural science, as well as courses in two of the following three areas: fine arts, humanities, and foreign language. They also have a wide variety of really fun traditions. One of them is Muir Stock, which is a music festival that's held every year. So that's a really fun event that students can participate in. Next slide, please. Next, we have Marshall College. And their tagline is the student as scholar and citizen. And here at Marshall, their goal is to really help students develop a deep analysis of the diversity of lived experiences in the United States and the institutions and movements through which justice has been advanced, and the culture through which people represent and comprehend US society and the world. So I think there's really a strong emphasis in Marshall College on really kind of social justice and in particular racial justice. And that's something that's really emphasized in some of their core courses. Their general education curriculum also asks students to complete courses in math, natural science, fine arts, humanities, and other areas outside of their major discipline. They have a lot of fun traditions as well. Marshall Palooza is a fun event held in Marshall Field where they have all kinds of activities and games, and it's really a fun event that happens every year there. And again, I'll just emphasize students from across campus are invited to all of these. Next slide, please. Next, we have Earl Warren College. Their tagline is "Toward a Life in Balance," named after the sort of the scales of justice, because the college is named after Chief Justice Earl Warren. And so they're really thinking about, how do we create well-balanced scholars and well-balanced citizens, and their general education reflects this. Students are asked to engage with 2 mini majors in areas outside of their major. Again, that idea is that you have these other mini majors that help balance out your predominant or your primary major. And because the core requirements in engineering are so stringent, there are sort of smaller requirements if you're in engineering for those mini majors. Again, there's a host of really fun traditions, and one of them that I'll mention are the Burls, which are these Academe Awards. It's almost a Academy Award style ceremony where students and members of the community and sometimes various different celebrities are honored for their work upholding the principles of community at UCSD. Several years ago, Paula Abdul was one of these sort of celebrity recipients of one of these awards. So it's a really, really fun, exciting event that you can participate in if you're a member of Warren College. Okay, next slide, please. The next college is Eleanor Roosevelt College. Their tagline is developing world citizens through scholarship, leadership, and service. And their core courses really emphasize what's called, or their core series is called Making of the Modern World. And it's really this five sequence course, or this 5-quarter long series that introduces students to kind of the history of kind of how the world got to be where it is now. And I think that the idea is to promote international understanding and to promote global citizens. And so in some ways, I think, whereas Marshall College really focused more on social justice within the United States, I think that Eleanor Roosevelt College takes a more global perspective on justice and how we think about the world more in this more global perspective. They also have a really fun set of traditions. One that I'll mention are the Sunday suppers at International House, which have the really great food and often music that corresponds to a particular region of the world. And that's something that students, again, from across all of the colleges can participate in if they're interested. Next slide, please. The next college that I'll mention is Sixth College. Their tagline is innovative, interconnected, and aware. And their goal is to really prepare students to become dynamic and engaged citizens of the 21st century. And their core coursework centers on the intersection of culture, art, and technology. So if you're someone who is interested in those areas, Sixth College could be a great place for you. One of the traditions I'll mention is their Winter Game Fest, which is sort of a video game and esports tournament that they sponsor every year. And it's a lot of fun. And I think students really have a good time participating in this. Students from across campus, again, participate in this. So that's another really fun tradition for Sixth College. And last, but most certainly not least, is Seventh College. So our tagline is confronting the challenges of a changing planet. So the idea is to really teach students how to approach large-scale global issues from an interdisciplinary perspective. So when you think about the climate crisis or mass migration or the advent of global pandemics, how do we draw upon the wisdom and expertise from a variety of different disciplines in order to address these challenges? And another hallmark of the general education curriculum at Seventh is to really help students gain those real world skills that they're going to need after they graduate in order to be successful. And so we really emphasize the importance of internships, research experience, and study abroad as part of our general education curriculum. Just a note, Seventh College admitted its first cohort of students last fall. We have our second cohort who will be arriving this coming fall. And starting in fall 2022, that will be the first year that we will be accepting transfer students. And so the college is slowly growing. It's been very exciting. Traditions, that's an interesting one. I think one of the exciting things about being a part of Seventh College is that you have the opportunity to really shape these new traditions. Last year was such a strange year for everyone in higher education and for Seventh College in particular with COVID. And so we're still in the process of really figuring out what those traditions are going to be, because of course last year we were so limited given that the university was mostly in a remote setting. So as the college grows and as we move out of the pandemic, I think there are a lot of really exciting opportunities for you, if you're interested in being a part of Seventh College, to really shape and define what the college is to become as we move forward. So that's sort of a brief outline of all of the colleges. In the Q&A portion, I'm happy to answer more questions. But for now, I'm going to turn things back over to Timothy, who will tell you a little bit more about ranking the colleges in your application. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Provost Antonovics, for the thorough explanation of the college system and the individual colleges. It's very, very helpful. So now that you've been provided with a snapshot overview of each college and with some helpful resources, we wanted to take a few moments to show you how to rank the colleges when you apply for admission to UC San Diego. And this is on the UC application. So you can see on this screen, this is what it will actually look like when you go to the application for admission and you select San Diego. You must rank the colleges in order of preference to have the best chance of assignment to the college of your choice. So you can see here on this slide, rank in order of preference, 1 being your top choice, 7 being the choice that you're least interested in. But as Provost Antonovics has mentioned, each college offers a myriad of programs and services for all of our students. Next, I want to let you know that Seventh College will open to incoming transfer students for fall of 2022. So again, as Provost Antonovics mentioned, we're really excited because this next year, our first cohort of transfer students will actually be able to join all of our Seventh College students, faculty, and staff. Keep in mind that the order of ranking of colleges does not affect your chances of admission to UC San Diego whatsoever. It is not considered in the review process. And this is probably the most common question we get in the Office of Admissions. Well, how will my ranking of the colleges affect my admission status? And the answer is it doesn't affect it at all. So, when you're ranking the colleges, be relaxed, do a little bit of research, review some of the information on our website, some of the information that Provost Antonovics covered to help inform you when you rank the colleges. Boxes to rank the colleges on the UC application only appear once you click on learn more about the UC San Diego College system. So it is a very unique system. Now, the application for admission, of course, is for the University of California. So you can apply to all the different UC campuses. We hope all of you apply to UC San Diego. And then when you get to that point in the application, you in fact will have to rank the colleges in the order of preference. Students should carefully read the information provided on that link when you get to the application regarding the theme of each college. Provost Antonovics has outlined what those themes generally are, what those themes are, and then you can learn more about it when you actually click on that link, which is also available on our college's website. Students rank the colleges on the UC application for admission, and if offered admission, and we hope all of you will, to UC San Diego, a college is assigned based on how you were ranked on the application. And when a student is assigned to a college in the admission process, they cannot then change their college assignment. So we do encourage students definitely to do a little bit of research, do a little bit of reading on our website to find out what the differences are in the college system, because once you're admitted, you will not be able to change your college assignment. And so that is just a little bit of information to help support you when you fill out that application. We know the application is already open. It opened on August 1st. Students are unable to submit that application until the month of November. So lots of time to look at it, lots of time to review it, and you definitely have access to the admissions office. And we'll talk more about that when we reach the end of the program. We hope this information has provided you with a better understanding of UC San Diego's college system. We will now conduct a Q&A session with Provost Antonovics and some of our extraordinary student panelists to learn more about their experience with the college system. At this point, I'd like to invite Provost Antonovics back on camera, as well as our student panelists. Provost Antonovics and our amazing students are here to answer your questions about the experience with the college system. So go ahead and please continue to use the Q&A feature at the bottom to submit your questions, and we will get to as many questions as we can. At this point, I'd like for our student panelists to introduce themselves, and why don't we do this popcorn style? I think we all are familiar with popcorn style Zoom space. If you could introduce yourself with your first name, your hometown, your major, and most importantly, your UC San Diego College. And why don't we start off with you, Liliana?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Liliana. I'm originally from Orange County, California. I'm double majoring in microbiology and sociology with a concentration in science and medicine. It's it's a handful to say. And lastly, I am a part of John Muir College. And popcorn to Marcus.
Hey everyone, my name is Marcus. I'm a recent graduate of UC San Diego. I was in Warren College, originally from Indio, California, and I studied visual arts media and double majored in psychology. And that's me. Popcorn, how's it going, Liz?
Hello, everyone. My name's Liz. I am a fourth-year student here studying human developmental science with a minor in biological anthropology. I am originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I am in Eleanor Roosevelt College. And I'll pass it on over to Anthony.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm originally from the northern part of San Diego called Oceanside. I'm a fourth year now Warren College student majoring in aerospace engineering and minoring in marine sciences.
Hi everyone, my name is Nandita. I am going to be an incoming third year next year, and I'm in Eleanor Roosevelt College. I'm originally from Cypress, California, which is near Anaheim, where Disneyland is. and I am double majoring in neurobiology and human developmental sciences. And I think that is all of us.
Yes, thank you very much. And so we're going to jump right into this Q&A. And the first question, actually, Provost Antonovics, we wanted to ask specifically, what is the thing you enjoy most about the college system? That one thing that really sets UC San Diego's college system apart?
Well, I mentioned this before, but I think that it really does help students form a sense of community. I think it really, in your first year when you arrive at UCSD, you are housed with other students in your college. You're living with them. Many of you would be taking your first year writing intensive courses together, and I think that really forms a sense of community. I also think that because and along with that, you have academic advisors and other support staff who have offices that are right next door to where you're living. And I think that also kind of increases your access to these resources. And so instead of being kind of on this huge campus where you're all mixed up together, it really breaks students, really breaks apart the campus into these smaller communities that I think are really, really powerful. So I think that's really the thing, that sense of community, I think is really the thing that makes the college system so special.
Thank you, Provost Antonovics. That's very helpful. At this point, I want each of the students, and we'll do this popcorn style as well, starting with you, Marcus. What do you enjoy most about your college experience?
I'd say the thing that I enjoyed the most about the colleges and my college experience is that it really, I mean, it was broken down a couple of times, but it really does just feel kind of like a neighborhood, like a little community, because it's like, even though I don't know everybody in the college, you see the same people around and it's like, hey, I know that person. Even recently graduating, I see people outside of college and I'm like, no idea that person's name, but I probably I've seen them walking around all the time. And it really does make this like big campus feel a lot smaller, and it makes you feel a little bit more like of a bigger person, if that makes any sense. Like you feel you're not just like one number in a million people, you're just kind of like broken down to a smaller neighborhood. But yeah, Liliana, what about you?
Yeah, I think sort of along the same lines. I really appreciate that, usually at big universities, it is really easy to feel small just because there's so many students. But like Marcus was saying, it really builds a sense of community. And personally, I'm from John Muir College, and the way our dorms work is we have a house system. So we have like a really big, the dorm hall, which is about 5 to 8 floors. But the first 2 floors and then the next 2 floors are connected. So, really we grow up the first year just getting to know all the 90 people in our house, and we have a lounge and a living area. So that's what I really appreciate. Popcorn and Dita.
Okay, so I would say my favorite part about my college, Eleanor Roosevelt College, is probably kind of what is like, I know, notorious about my college is like the writing sequence. So we have this 5-quarter writing sequence called Making of the Modern World. And it definitely is intense and it's pretty long, but I do think it's pretty cool that the people you live with your first year, all of you guys, for the most part, have to take that writing sequence, because usually you end up living with people in your same college. So it's like kind of nice to know you have like people who are like, who you can go to and you can be like, hey, like I need to take like the third course in the sequence. Are you going to take it this quarter? And like plan those classes with your friends. And I think that really brought me my sense of community, especially because 2 of the girls I met my first year who were in my college, I'm still like best friends with today. And like I'm actually moving into an apartment with them pretty soon. So I think that community was really built for me through my college. Oh, oops. Okay, let me popcorn somebody. Popcorn Anthony.
Awesome. So my favorite thing about the college system itself is just the fact that it can offer so much, as everyone else has already said too, the fact that it can offer so many resources that's kind of like individualized. I always say when I give tours on campus, I always say it's like if we had one office serving 30,800 of us, that's kind of a lot of people for one office. So being able to have each of the colleges offer its own amenities and resources, it brings that number down a lot more. So you can actually access and talk to your advisors, get to know them on a personal level. I feel like that making that connection is always great. As for specifically for my college, Warren College, I really appreciate the having these subject areas to be able to study them. So those mini minors, as we talked about earlier. So even though I major in aerospace engineering and I minor in marine science, so very science heavy, I want to explore political science and history. So I chose those as my region areas of study to be able to explore that side a little bit more and still engage in the things that I really wanted to be able to learn about and take classes for. Really balancing it out, hence the Towards a Life in Balance. Haha. That I'll go ahead and pass it on over to Liz.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything everyone has said. I'll definitely say my favorite thing about specifically my college is like our philosophy and our focus general education wise, because I'm in Eleanor Roosevelt College, so we're focused on like those international relations and history. And while when I first went into it, I didn't really think that that would align with like my major, my career path at all. I think it gives me a really interesting perspective on my major. So like I'm in human development, I want to go into healthcare, and having that more global outlook on like situations, I feel like really helps and changes my outlook on my major classes. And that's something interesting that like I can bring, because not everyone in my major is from my college. So like I have that unique perspective, and then other people bring other unique perspectives from like their colleges. So you get a lot of like intermixing of ideas that way.
Thank you very much. That's helpful information. And I do want to just preface that we were unable to secure student representatives from each of the colleges for tonight's program. However, all of our students in all of our colleges have a great experience at UC San Diego. We're getting some interesting questions. Provost Antonovics, an interesting question came in from a student, still not really clear about what the college system is. How many students are in each college? Can students take classes in other colleges? What's the purpose of the college system?
Well, as we've talked about before, the purpose of the college system is to create that sense of community that I think many of the students have spoken about. What happens is each college, as I said, has its own set of general education requirements. So you might be asked in each course, one college you might be asked to take a course in arts and humanities, or a couple courses in arts and humanities. Another, in fact, all of the colleges probably ask you to take some courses that are likely to be in something like arts and humanities. The specifics of those requirements change a little bit. But the point is, when you are majoring in economics or majoring in, aerospace engineering or whatever it is you're majoring in, those majors determine another set of requirements that you have to meet. You have to fulfill your major requirements as well. And so anyone in regardless of what college you're in, if you are an econ major, you're going to take the same set of economics courses in order to fulfill your major requirements in economics. It's just that those general education requirements across the colleges are going to be a little bit different. And of course, also, you're going to be living in separate parts of the university as well. Timothy, I don't know if that was a multi-part question. I feel like I might have missed some of the parts of that question. Were there things that I didn't cover?
No, I think you've covered it really well. And there is a lot of repetitive information. I know the college system can seem a little confusing for some of our students who are learning more about UC San Diego. But here's a good question that just came in for our student panelists. How did you come to select your college? So when you were ranking the colleges in order of preference on the application, what helped you to kind of figure that out? And did you end up with the first choice college that you actually selected? And let's start off with Liz, if you would be good enough to start off.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone attending this session, you're already way ahead of me. When I filled out my UC application, I didn't know what the college system was. So I had to do a lot of really fast research. But on the application, there's a little like fast fact sheet that lays out all the general education requirements, the philosophies, the fun events. And the thing that really drove me towards ERC was that philosophy, the international focus. I'm really big into travel, learning new languages, that kind of thing. So that really spoke to me and made me like want to rank ERC in my top. And as far as ranking goes, I saw a couple questions about like if like we were admitted into our first choice. ERC was my first choice, so I'm happy that I wound up where I am. And I feel like that's a pretty common experience that people are pretty happy with their placements. But should I be passing this along to someone else?
Yeah, let's hear from all of our students.
Yeah, absolutely. Nandita, you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. Like Liz, I didn't know too much when I was applying. I got to the college section and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I didn't know this was part of the application. So I looked at they have like little blurbs, I think, that basically explain a little bit about like the general focus of the college. And so I kind of just read those and I ranked mine like based off of that. Obviously, you guys have a lot more information than I did when I applied. So I recommend taking advantage of that information. But I basically read the blurbs and I kind of really liked what ERC stood for, similar to what Liz was saying. I know one big word that was like talked about a lot was the idea of global citizenship. And I really liked that idea. And I thought like I wanted to be able to contribute globally. And I thought having that bigger picture understanding would really help me like apply all of the knowledge that I was getting in college. So I think that's probably what led me to rank ERC first. And like I mentioned, I did rank it first, and that was the college I ended up in. So yeah, it ended up working out, and I'm really happy with the college that I'm in. So yes, let's hear from somebody else. Lily, do you want to go?
Sure, yeah. So I mean, similar to Nandita and Liz, I didn't know too much about the college system when I was applying. But one thing that caught my attention was the philosophy for John Muir College. It's the independent spirit. And I knew that coming into college, one thing I really wanted was to be able to have the freedom to explore and take different classes. And I felt like John Muir really provided that and gave me the opportunity to sort of discover different classes through like their sequences. You have the option to choose either humanities, foreign language, or I forget what the other one is, but you have an option to choose your sequences. And that actually resulted in the second major that I chose, sociology. I had originally just taken it to fulfill one of my GE sequences, but because there is such a big overlap in GE courses, major courses, there's really just so many ways to fulfill your requirements. I ended up choosing to continue with that, and I ended up majoring in it. Popcorn Marcus?
Hey, I'm in Warren College, or when I graduated from Warren College, and I will say I probably offer a unique perspective in that I didn't get my first choice college. I don't remember, I applied 4 years ago, so I don't remember which one I put first. I think Warren was definitely my top three. I think it was my second. But the biggest thing I would say about that is I ended up in Warren College, but I honestly couldn't see my experience in college going to any other college. I'm very glad I ended up in Warren College. As cheesy as it sounds, I ended up there, and that's kind of where I found my community. It was probably the best experience I probably could have had, and ended up leading to me double majoring. So even though you might not get your first choice college, of course, they're trying to like balance everything with colleges, and they try to give everybody their first choice if they can, but sometimes you might get your second. It is not the end of the world. You are still a UC San Diego student. The colleges, it's more of an addition to that. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're applying. And Popcorn, how's it going, Anthony?
Fellow Warrener, heck yeah. Yeah, so I'm also in Warren College. It was my first choice on the UC application. Why was that? I did a little bit of research before, and I saw that motto of towards a life in balance. And I thought that really spoke to me, not just on the academic side, where I'd be able to take all the GE classes that I would want, academically and all that and professionally, but I wanted to also have it speak to me on a more personal level, where I wanted to balance out my academics as well as my personal life and all the student activities and old clubs and organizations that I wanted to join in as well. So balance in that sense as well, something that I didn't do much of in high school and that I wanted in a college experience. And thus, that's why Warren College fits so well for me. And it's still doing great wonders for me right now too, even though I'm finishing out pretty soon. And I think that's all of us.
Thank you. And we know that students find a home at whichever college they end up in. So that really is one of the another beauty of the college system. There are so many different layers of community within community at UC San Diego. We have a question about the social activities involved with the colleges. Maybe one or two of you can ask or can speak to a little bit about what kind of social activities are available. Of course, this last year has been really an anomaly. During normal times, things are a little bit different, but even in the virtual space, we've talked a little bit about if you're a Warren student, you're still available to participate in activities through Muir or 7th College. Perhaps two of you, maybe Marcus, Liz, or Liliana, can you speak a little bit about the social activities and engaging with students in your college and then perhaps other colleges as well?
Yeah, I can kick it off. So actually, I was only on campus for about 2 quarters when everything was still open. And that was my first year, but I got to witness the Muir pumpkin drop, which was pretty cool. Partially because we sort of got evacuated from our dorms and everyone's like, hey, like come witness the tradition. You guys are gonna love it. So that was pretty fantastic. And I know that a really big one in Muir is also Muir Stock. We didn't have it in person. It was held virtually, but it was still really cool. I can't imagine what it would be like in person. Probably fantastic. I mean, the virtual was great, but also, yeah, like Timothy was saying, a lot of colleges have different traditions and you're able to go to all of them. I know that one that was held in Revel, I believe, was like a fair. So there was a jumper and there were other events. Probably Marcus and Liz can speak better towards it because you guys probably spent more time on campus before the pandemic. But from what I witnessed and what I experienced, I had lots of fun. And I went to other colleges as well.
Yeah, just kind of adding on to that. I mean, everybody always knows about like the big college hosted events. Like I think it's like Horizon now, as well as like the pumpkin drop and all those big ones, but there's always so many small things going on in each college. Just speaking back to the fair, that's why I was laughing. I didn't know that was happening. And I was just like walking through Revel College at the time. And then I ended up midway. I was like, oh, what's in here? I ended up midway through a haunted house. Don't ask me how that happened. I ended up in it. But there's always so many smaller events. So of course you're going to hear like, oh, Rock and Roosevelt's coming up. And definitely I went to all the Rock and Roosevelt's. But there's also so many like, oh yeah, they're having a dance, or like Warren's having a game night or something like that. And there's always like things happening at different colleges. So I definitely like not just look at the big ones, but all these little small ones popping up.
Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you for that information. And of course, for this coming year, the campus is really excited because we're planning to welcome our students back on campus. Classes will be on campus. So it's going to be a very vibrant environment. And then of course, the next year, when most of you will be applying and coming to UC San Diego, we're really excited about what's to come after these last 18 months of really unusual experience. You know, we did receive an interesting question, and Provost Antonovics, I'm not sure if you can handle this question. It's a little bit a question I've never seen before. Does each college have its own architectural style and student culture? So I think more the architectural style is sort of the interesting part of that question.
It does have its own architectural style. I think they're very distinct. So Revel is the oldest of the colleges, and its residential areas tend to be a little bit older, but they're lovely nonetheless. I mean, old does not necessarily mean bad. And Muir has this very I don't know, would it be called brutalist architecture? Like you can really kind of see it's architecturally significant. I mean, brutalist makes it sound horrible, but it is an architecturally significant area, and I think it's also very beautiful. It's just that you can kind of, they're made out of concrete, and you can kind of really see how it was constructed. Marshall has a much more kind of spread out campus. Their residence halls tend to be kind of, they're not as many stories high. They're spread out over a larger area. Warren is unique in that most of the colleges are kind of lined up on Ridge Walk on the western edge of campus, but Warren is unique in that it's a little bit farther east. And then, and it's on a beautiful canyon. It's a really lovely area. Eleanor Roosevelt has, again, it's very modern architecture. It's very blocky and interesting. Sixth College is brand new. I mean, I think that's one of the things that is very exciting. They have a brand new residential area. So it's, you know, multi-story buildings, they're really lovely facilities. And then Seventh College is also relatively new. Seventh is on kind of the north west tip of campus. And one of the things that makes it unique architecturally, although this isn't, I don't know if an architect would consider this an architectural feature, but it's in each of the suites in Seventh College has a full kitchen. So they're really more apartments than they are suites. And so if you're interested in cooking and want to do a lot of your own cooking, Seventh could be a good place. But yeah, they are different, and each one has a slightly different feel. I like all of them. I genuinely do. They're all really interesting and different. I've spent a lot of time on each of the areas. And so I think maybe the culture goes along a little bit with it, but you know, I don't know, maybe the students have a sense of like what the culture is like at the different colleges, but I mean, they're really, I think of them as sort of flavors of different flavors of ice cream. Like they're all really great. They're just a little bit different.
Great analogy. That's really, why don't we actually, for Anthony and Nandita, how would you describe the culture at your colleges? So obviously Warren and Roosevelt. Nandita, how would you describe the culture of being a student at Roosevelt?
Yeah, so I think I can speak for, I guess, like kind of all of the colleges in general. I feel like everyone I've met at UC San Diego has been very welcoming and helpful. And just like, there's been times where I have no idea what I'm doing and like people are there to help me. And like nobody has really like gotten annoyed at me for like getting lost or anything. And I think in terms of, and like, I get lost all the time on campus. So that was really helpful for me my first year, how like welcoming and willing people were to go out of their way to like help me. And then I think in Eleanor Roosevelt specifically, I thought the students were like very into like collaboration. In my classrooms, I thought like it would be like everyone was kind of just like sitting by themselves, but even on like the first day, like I saw people like trying to make connections and trying to talk to each other very quickly. And in those like writing courses, you honestly really want that because you want friends who are going to stick with you through those long courses and that you can go to for help. So I guess that's kind of how I would describe like Eleanor Roosevelt's culture is just like very open and inviting, and just like people always wanting to like collaborate and help you out.
Anthony, how would you respond to that question?
She ditto exactly for everything that she said about the university as a whole. So all of us, all seven of our colleges. As for Warren specifically, I think Marcus can back me up on this. Because Warren sits on its own peninsula, W stands for Warren and for winners. Let's go. Because Warren sits on its own peninsula, it's really funny when you walk around campus and you know it's your first time around. You talk to people and then you ask them, "Oh, what college are you in?" And they say Warren College. You immediately form that bond with that person because they understand what it's like to be in Warren College. Being on the other side of campus itself, you're on your own little area like that. It's also very well known for being the one place where you can really hear the birds singing in the morning from your dorm rooms because it's the only one that's not next to a street. So it's very quiet, very peaceful in the morning. And I think that also speaks to Warren College students ourselves too. Because of our separate set of general education requirements, we do get to be pretty well-rounded students because of the things that we choose, but also just great at conversation and also just very chill, very relaxed. We have hammocks and stuff like that, a beach volleyball court and as a part of Warren College itself too. So it's fun to, have a little community like that. I really like it as kind of like a house of Hogwarts. I'm very proud of Warren.
Lots of college pride, lots of friendly competition between the colleges as well. I do want to just also, I know we're getting a lot of questions about how ranking the colleges affects a student's application or how it might affect an admission status. And I want to just really emphasize that ranking the colleges in any order of preference does not affect the student's ability to gain admission to UC San Diego or to a major. So we really want students to take a look at that college information very carefully to find out what feels like it fits the best for you as a student. There is no effect on college ranking versus admission to the campus. So we really want to let you know that, take a look at those colleges, see what really feels like the right fit for you and rank those colleges accordingly. We had a question about food, and food is very important. So the different colleges obviously have different dining halls and restaurants and markets. Perhaps a couple of you, maybe Liz, I don't think we heard from you, and Marcus perhaps. Are there any favorite dining facilities that are located at any particular college, whether it's your college or another college?
Yeah, I can start on this one. So despite the fact that I am an Eleanor Roosevelt student, my favorite dining hall has got to be Ocean View Terrace, which is located actually in Marshall College. But that's like right next to ERC. So it was like 5 minutes from where I lived on campus. So I could just walk up there. They're my personal favorite because they have create your own pizza there. So there's just like a pizza bar with like tons of different like toppings, different sauces, all that good stuff. You can go, you can make your like own pizza, different pizza every day. So that was like my personal favorite over there. But there's so many like different options on campus that like going to like different dining halls, like you're always going to find new food. So like it was kind of nice, like just walking over to other colleges, like getting food from over there, bringing it back, and not just like having to eat at like one main dining hall. I thought was like a cool advantage.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite place, Goodies, I don't think it exists anymore. Rest in peace, Goodies. Is a little burrito spot. My other favorite place, Canyon Vista, also just got renovated, so it's all new now. So I never got to see all the new stuff. I mean, just like Liz said, it changes all around campus. You can find good food anywhere. I will say there is a special place in my heart for Earl's Market. It's like this little spot. Each college has their own little market, but it's just a little like student-oriented, like AM, PM kind of thing. Open until 1 a.m. Just saying, sometime you want that late night snack or you want to just like take some stuff back to your dorm, prime spot. But yeah, I always love the little markets because you can always just go get a snack between classes.
Yes, a little late night study snacks, definitely. Some of the questions are coming in also about getting around campus. Our campus is a fairly large campus. It's really spread out. It's in a gorgeous location, La Jolla, which is San Diego County, which is really right on the beach. In terms of getting around to the different colleges, what's that like? If a couple of you students, perhaps maybe Liliana and Edita, getting around, are you walking? Are you using the shuttle system? I know the trolley is just planning to arrive later this fall. So how is it getting around campus?
Yeah, so I mean, you can definitely walk if you're gonna do that. Maybe look at the buildings and where your classes are to make sure that you don't have a class like in Warren and then another one in Revelle. Those two are pretty far from each other. But I think for the most part, most students walk. I know there's a lot of bikes on campus and skating. I actually learned how to skateboard once I got to UC San Diego, but be warned, there are quite a few hills. So that can make it a little bit dangerous. But in terms of transportation, just even getting around San Diego, one thing that's super cool is that we have access to a bus pass. And so that means that we're able to go from La Jolla to downtown and just really all across San Diego with that bus pass. But yeah, I'm gonna pass it on to Nandita.
Yeah, so getting around was definitely like interesting my first year, definitely a lot of walking because you can have classes that are like 30 minutes away from each other. I'm in Eleanor Roosevelt, which is on like the complete opposite side of where like Revelle is. And I had a 8 a.m. chem class there my first quarter. So I always did the 30-minute trek to Revelle every morning at 7:30 with a few friends. But I honestly really like walking around campus. Another thing I had that I know a lot of students like tend to have or tend to get is I have an electric scooter. His name is Hoy. And I got him because I had a class, I think that was in like, I think it was like Revelle to Warren, and I needed to get there in 10 minutes. And I've done the walk in 10 minutes, but it's like, you're not really walking. You're like kind of like fast walking. It's not super comfortable. So I started using my electric scooter, and that's really fun. We also have like electric scooters that you can like use around campus, like just to get like from one place to another. They're like spin scooters or like birds. You guys are probably familiar with them. There's also bikes that you can do that with. Another cool thing I learned about were like electric skateboards. I went on an electric skateboard my first time like went at UC San Diego my first year, and those are really cool. So there's like honestly so many methods of transportation around campus, and you'll honestly see some really cool ones if you like go around campus and just walk around.
Definitely getting around campus. I'm on campus right now, and it's so easy to get around, walking, biking, definitely using those scooters. That's become really popular over the last, pre-pandemic, and of course, even now. That raises a question just about in terms of space on campus. So we're all going to be back on campus again in the fall, and many of you have been on campus. In terms of a favorite spot at your college, if we could just go around each person, and Provost Antonovics, what's your favorite spot at your college?
I think that one of my favorite spots is probably the 15th floor of Tower West, which has which is the top floor of one of our tall residential halls, and it just has incredible views of the Pacific Ocean. I mean, it's really beautiful, and if you're up there in the evening, you can watch the sun dip below the horizon. I mean, it's really just an amazing area, and I think a lot of the students have that view as well, which I'm very jealous of personally. But yeah, I mean, I think that might be my favorite spot at 7th.
Liz, how about you? What about Roosevelt?
Yeah, I think my favorite spot in ERC has to be just the ERC green. So my favorite part about being in Roosevelt is we don't have a lot of academic buildings. So there typically aren't a lot of people from like other colleges just like around. So it feels like kind of remote in the like residential area. And then we just have like a really nice lawn that connects like our like residence halls with like our apartment buildings, and people will just be out there like, playing frisbee or like soccer, just hanging out, studying, reading. So I really like just hanging out on there because it's usually like pretty quiet and just like a fun place to go and hang out with people.
Thanks, Liz. How about you, Liliana?
Well, I think I'm pretty lucky in the sense that I am a part of John Muir College, and that means that the first 2 years I lived on campus, I actually had an ocean view, and I was on the 5th floor and the 4th floor my first and second year. But I think my favorite spot, aside from the study lounge at the top of what's it called, Tioga, from the 9th floor, you can see the sun setting beautifully. Aside from that, it has to be the eucalyptus forest. I love just going in the morning, going for a walk, and it's really peaceful.
How about you, Nandita?
Yeah, so I actually didn't live in Eleanor Roosevelt College ever, and I don't intend to live there during my next 2 years. So I haven't really found a spot on that campus that like I particularly like align with or really, really like. But I did live in what used to be like the Village and is now 7th College. So I did live there, and my favorite spot there is this like little kind of like, it's like a patio. It's called Eco Flats, and it's at the top of one of the apartment buildings, and it's such a great place. I've done so much journaling there. There's some tables you can just sit there, do some homework, and watch the sunset. So beautiful. It gets pretty chilly at night, so just bring a jacket, but honestly so beautiful, and you can see like the ocean and watch the sunset, and it's my favorite.
Thanks so much, Nandita. How about you, Anthony? What about over at Warren?
Warren, I have to agree with Marcus. I also have a very soft spot for Earl's Market. It's a classic there. But there's also this little area we call the Student Activity Center, or the SAC, where they have these kind of, it's like a a little game place. They have some games for us to play and stuff like that. So great place to be able to hang out as well. One of my favorites.
Anything you would like to add, Marcus?
I completely forgot about the SAC, but yeah, honestly, there's a pool table in there. We have our own volleyball court. So even if you don't own a volleyball, find somebody that owns a volleyball, just try it. We didn't know what we were doing, but it was fun. But yeah, the SAC is actually a really good shout. There's like movies you can rent there. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Lots of great spots on campus. You know, I do also want to just make a note that on the application for admission, students rank the colleges in order of preference. There's not a guarantee that a student will get their first choice college. As you can see from our student panelists, some of them got their first choice, some of them did not. They've all found a home at their college. So, but typically students get their first, second, or third choice at UC San Diego. And again, students find a home at their college. We have a couple more minutes left in this session, but we will provide some contact information. I guess in the closing minute, Provost Antonovics, are there any closing remarks that you would like to share with our guests tonight who are counselors, prospective students, and families about the college system and what makes UC San Diego unique?
Yeah, you know, I think that what makes UC San Diego unique is the fact that we have this college system that really does create this sense of community. And I think the existence of that system is more important than any particular college in that system. I think all of the colleges are really, really wonderful. I don't think when you're applying to UC San Diego, it should be stressful about, you know, which college you're going to apply to, which one you're going to get into. I think they're all really excellent. I think it's just the existence of the system itself that is so amazing. And I will say that, you know, the provosts of all of the colleges, we really work together and are really trying to make sure we're creating an incredible experience for students, regardless of which college they choose. And so, you know, I think it's really important to recognize that it is a community of colleges, and that, you know, and it's a community of communities. And I think that that's really important to recognize. So, you know, and as you mentioned, I think students end up being really happy in any of the colleges that they pick, and that wherever they end up.